What happens when this number hits the absolute max? What approach would you even take to max it out? Well, of course, you would have to thoroughly collect everything the level has to offer. Or at least you would think. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of this video, we need to talk about what basic things will increase the score counter. We have a lot of things that'll do just that. You get 1000 points every time you obtain a power-up. However, a power-up obtained from the power-up swap won't give you any points. For normal enemies, you get 200 points for defeating them, or 300 if they drop a coin when you kill them. These points vary based on what type of enemy you defeat as well. For example, you get more points if the enemy is a boss. Also, you get even more points if you bounce on them consecutively. Getting the checkpoint gives you 2000 points. Getting a green star or stamp gives you 4000 points. Collecting coins and 1-ups each give you 100 points. Destroying a breakable block gives you 10 points. You get the point. Pretty much anything you interact with gives you points. Finally, we have the flagpole. The higher you land on it, the more points you get. And if you hit the very top, you get 10,000 points. But when you hit the flagpole also matters. You get 50 points for each second you have left when you hit the flag. Furthermore, if the last digit when you hit the flag is a 6, you get 5 fireworks, with each firework granting you 1000 points. So will this be enough to achieve a max score? Well, it doesn't seem like any of these actions will have a significant impact. The action that earns you the most points is hitting the top of the flag, which is worth 10,000 points. But that's only 1% of the max score. So, we need to combine a lot of these actions. Imagine a hypothetical level, we'll call it 1-6. Let's say in 1-6 we collect 5 power-ups, defeat 100 enemies with each enemy giving us a coin after defeating them. Get the checkpoint, get all 3 green stars and the stamp, collect 100 coins, destroy 100 breakable blocks, and hit the top of the flagpole with 206 seconds left. This itself is already a tall order. I don't know how many levels you can do all of this on. Doing some math, we find out that all these actions will result in a total score of... Oh, come on! After all of this, we are only 10% of the way there to achieving a max score. The main problem is that you can only do these actions a finite number of times. There are only so many coins and enemies you can have in a level. So, what if we found a way to do something an infinite number of times? I'm sure you've heard of it. In 1-2, using a Koopa shell, you can bounce on it consecutively to get an infinite number of lives. The lives you gain here don't actually give you a score, but the bounces before the 1-ups do. So, if we cancel the enemy bounce once we hit 8,000 points and then restart, we should be able to eventually get the max amount of points. Well, luckily, we can just take our sweet time here. I have all day to reach the max. Oh, right. Although the timer does help us achieve a higher score, it also kind of ruins it for us at the same time. When the clock hits 0, the score resets. So, we only have 500 in-game seconds to do this. Luckily, this is still enough time to get a max score on this level and beat it, but this timer might be a bit of a problem in the future. So how many other levels can we do this on? Well, we will definitely need a level with a Koopa shell. Want to guess how many levels in this game have one? 10, 20, 30 perhaps? 4. Bruh. Literally 4 levels. The Koopa is like the second most common enemy in the entire Mario series, and there's probably more of whatever these things are in this game than Koopas. It's like Nintendo knew in advance that YouTubers would try to do this. Well, what are the 4 levels? There's 1-2, 5-1, 7-6, and 12-Mystery House. We've successfully gotten the max score on 1-2 already, so let's move on to 5-1. 5-1 has a great spot to max out the score. You have a Koopa shell, as well as a cramped area to easily bounce on the shell multiple times. You even have a clock here that adds 100 seconds as a bonus. You don't bounce on the shell as fast as with 1-2, but it is still very possible. Moving on to 7-6, there is one singular Koopa in this random section. Unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be an optimal spot to infinitely bounce on. You can't quite bounce here because the cylinder-like pipe causes the shell to bounce elsewhere. Instead, you can use a catsuit or fire flower to infinitely scratch the Koopa in the air. Not only is this method slow, but it is also harder than it looks. If you mistime a cap, swipe, or fire shot, the shell will hit the ground, and the consecutive points reset. Also, there isn't that much space, so if you accidentally kick the shell, the Koopa could easily just land in the water and you have to start all over again. Despite all of this, I did the math to see if I was at least close to hitting the max score. If you kept the shell in the air perfectly throughout, you would get 16,400 points every 6 in-game seconds. Since a lot of 7-6 is a water level, a ton of precious seconds are spent slowly swimming through the level. Luckily, this 100-second clock makes up for it. With a clock, we have a total of 500 in-game seconds for 7-6. About 100 of those seconds are spent actually getting to the ideal spot to start Koopa shell grinding. Also, ideally, we should hit the top of the flag with 6 in-game seconds left. This gives us 10,000 points from hitting the top, 5,000 points from the fireworks, and 300 points for having 6 seconds left on the timer. As an added bonus, 3 enemies worth 1,000 points each are defeated when you hit the flag. In total, this gives us an extra 18,300 points just for beating the level. It takes us about 70 seconds or so to complete the second half of the level, so we need to stop grinding the score with the Koopas when the in-game timer is at around 80. This leaves us with roughly 320 seconds with the Koopa. Since you get 16,400 points every 6 in-game seconds when everything goes right, we get around 870,000 points. Add that to the flagpole bonus and we get 888,300 points theoretically. But keep in mind that this is if you do everything perfectly. We are so close to hitting the max score with this strat, so we might have to come back to this level later to see how we can get those additional 100,000-ish points. The final level with the Koopa shell is 12-Mystery House. Wait, but you only have 10 seconds to defeat them, or else you'll be kicked out of the level. However, we don't need the Koopa itself. All we need is the shell. Once we grab the green star, as long as we don't enter the warp box, there is no timer we have to worry about. What matters is that the shell itself doesn't disappear when you grab the green star. And it doesn't. Or at least that's what I thought when I scripted this part of the video, but they do disappear! That's what you get for assuming stuff, I guess. This ruins my script. I had such a good transition here too. Oh well, time to come up with a new one on the spot. Professional screen transition. Wait a minute. I just realized this while making my amazing transition. What if I grab the green star while inside the Koopa shell? It's not like the game will make me disappear. I tested it and it works. I knew assuming things would pay off. After grabbing the star inside the shell, it stays there and we can just leisurely farm for points. You can max out the score on 12-Mystery House. So, using the Koopa shells, we figured out how to max out the score on a few levels. Are there any other enemies we could potentially use? Well, there are the dry bones. In 8-4, there is a spot with enough dry bones to theoretically farm for points if you can consistently bounce on them properly. However, even when you do everything perfectly, it doesn't seem like this is enough to get a max score in time. And it's all because of that timer. Is there just a way to make the timer infinite? Well, no. However, as we saw with 12-Mystery House, there are levels in this game that have no timer at all. So if we can find another way to do something an infinite amount of times in one of those no timer levels, we can max out the score. Luckily for us, the Koopa shell isn't the only way to grind the score up fast. We have been so focused on level layouts this entire video, but what if we shifted our attention to... In the post-game of Super Mario 3D World, the game gives us access to one more power-up. Here it is. But wait, isn't that just the cat suit? No, look closer. This is actually the Lucky Cat suit. It acts as the same as a normal cat bell, but every time you ground pound, you collect coins. I think you can see where this is going. Using the Lucky Cat Bell, we can achieve the max score on every single mystery house, since none of these levels have a universal timer. Believe it or not, even after all of this, the Lucky Cat Bell still has untapped potential. There could potentially be some spots in this game where you can farm enough coins, even with a finite timer. One example of this is the bounce pads in 4-4. But even at this fast speed, we only get about 250,000 points. But what if we got some help from another power-up? Unfortunately, the double cherries can only be found in a select few levels. But if we were to get a Lucky Bell and get all the double cherries in a level, we could multiply the effect of the Lucky Bell strategy by 5. But with no bounce pad or Koopas or infinite timer, is this even possible? Well, I got 5 double cherries, which is the max amount you can have in a level. I reached the end of the level, grinded until I hit 6 seconds left. And what? I only hit 575,000 points? Bruh! So, the Lucky Bell and double cherry combo isn't enough to max this level out. But what if we added something else into the mix? Something that I've intentionally not mentioned throughout this video. Using multiplayer, we could add 3 more characters, give them Lucky Bells, and have them grind for coins as well. Trying to coordinate this all by myself would be nearly impossible. Luckily, I probably wouldn't have to. In the best case scenario where there are 4 total characters in a level, one of which has 4 double cherries, the rate of grinding these coins would be multiplied by 1.6, since we have 1.6 times as many characters this time around. Of course, this is if everything was done perfectly, which good luck doing everything perfectly with 4 separate players. So let's multiply our score of 575,000 in single player by 1.6 and that's not quite what we're looking for. Maybe it's possible, but I'm really skeptical. If only you could have more than 4 double cherry power-ups activated at a time. If you want to see me prove this, let me know. But for now, a max score on 2-5, along with any other level with double cherries, is purely theoretical. But wait, what if I use multiplayer for 4-4? I was able to get a score of 250,000 in single player, so multiply that number by 4 and we get 1,000,000. Does that mean 4-4 is proven to be possible to max out? Well, if only multiplying by 4 here was fully accurate. You see, while most of the points came from the Lucky Cat Bell, a decent chunk of them, probably about 10%, came from green stars, stamps, and other things you can only do once, even with 4 players. Therefore, that portion of the score can't be multiplied by 4. If we assume about 20,000 points cannot be multiplied by 4, we instead multiply 230,000 by 4 and then add 20,000. We are left with a maximum possible score of 940,000 points. Ugh, Nintendo is really teasing us. Of course, this is mostly speculation, and this level was too close to say definitively whether or not it was possible, even more so than the double cherry levels. Sure enough, I tested it with 3 other players, and the best we could do was around 870,000, plus a failed attempt that would have gotten us around 900,000 points. Again, maybe it's possible, but both this level and the levels with the double cherry would take four highly coordinated players. At this point, I've exhausted all the options. That is every known way I can think of right now to earn points fast at the moment. Or is it? Out of every level in Super Mario 3D World so far, a total of 8 of them are proven to be possible to max out the score on. Those levels are 1-2, 2-Mystery House, 4-Mystery House, 5-1, 6-Mystery House, 8-Mystery House, 10-Mystery House, and 12-Mystery House. Literally all of these levels are either levels with a Koopa Shell or a Mystery House with no timer. Koopa Shell. Wait. Wasn't there another level with a Koopa Shell that we skipped over? We still need to finish talking about 7-6. Now that we know about the Lucky Cat Bell strategy and multiplayer, we could theoretically have one person grinding points with the shell and have other people grind coins with the Lucky Cat Bell simultaneously. Of course, I can't do this alone, but if I can get others to grind Lucky Cat Bell coins while I do the Koopa strategy, we could get the elusive 999999 score on just one more level. This is the 9th level where we can get 9. Okay, you get the point. Plus, more levels are theoretically possible, so maybe I'll make a video similar to this if those levels actually become possible. If you enjoyed this video, check out this one where I attempt a 100% Super Mario 3D World with as few jumps as possible. It should hold you over while I work on my next big challenge video, where I go against literally everything this video has been about.